Hey guys, welcome back to another video. It took a couple days off, sorry about that, but now we're back to our regularly scheduled programming. And what we're going to be talking about today is some basic tips, I can give you guys for, making a good resume and getting that technical interview. Now, I've hired a couple people in the past, both full-time engineers and interns. So I feel like I have a decent grasp to, give some simple tips just to increase your chance by that much. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. If you like the content, feel free to like and subscribe. And if you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much. I'm super grateful for you. So, what are some small things that you can do to your resume to increase your chances of getting an interview, right? So, first of all, there's a lot of differences between a technical resume, so one a software engineer might make, and a normal resume, depending on like what job you're trying to get, you're going to be building different resumes. So, it's important to, realize that a resume that's technical, with languages and completed projects and stuff like that is just going to be a bit different than a normal one. And also, most of the time, not just one person is going to be reading your resume, right? So there's going to be both technical and non-technical people reading your resume, right? They can be recruiters, it can be hiring managers, and it can even be engineers and developers that are going through your resume, all three of these different people. So you have to really tailor your resume to different audiences. It can't just be 100% technical, because then some, like the hiring manager or recruiter who doesn't have a technical background won't really understand some of the things there, right? So it's really important to have a balance of both so that all three audiences are tailored to. So a really basic thing that you can do right off the bat to increase your chances of getting an interview is having keywords and having different languages in there so that if like it's a company, runs your resume through a filter where it just looks for keywords, you'll pass that. So if a company is looking for like a Python developer with SQL experience and they're just going to run resumes through a filter that like looks for those keywords, make sure to include those so that you actually pass that initial filter test if there is one. Then I also want to tell you guys that less is more. So in my experience, you want to limit your thing to one page. Please just limit it to one page. In the past, when I've interviewed people, I'm sitting there with like a stack of papers and I'm not going to flip through them all, right? I'm not going to spend time and flip through all of it and then ask them questions for the interview. I would rather see one page and then know that, all the questions I can ask are easily found on the one page, and then less time is wasted. You want a concise list of items on the resume, and you kind of just want the highlights of your career, what things you're most proud of, and just include those on your resumes. You don't really want to include a lot of noise and a lot of BS that, just makes you sound smarter, right? Don't include like a certification you have there for Excel. No one cares about that. And at times it could even do worse because, that makes you look more of a junior level, like because you went through this whole certification process to learn Excel, right? It's like you think these things add value, but they really don't. Also, you want less formatting in your resume. The less formatting, the better. The more simple it is, the better it is. What's really important is the quality, like the content of your resume, not how it looks. Most of the times, if you add a lot of flashy colors, if you add a picture of yourself for some reason, it really makes it not look as professional. And, using a ton of different columns, a ton of different garbage like that, you don't really want that to be your resume, because most of the times, special fonts and different colors and stuff like that make it hard to scan a resume. A lot of people just, get a resume in and they scan it, or if it's online and you send it over, it doesn't really appear in the best quality. And that brings me to another point, which is like you really want to format it in the right way. You want to just make it a PDF. I can't tell you how many times someone sent me like a docx. I try to open it on my Mac and then I can't open the resume, and then I just, forget about them. Really, like it makes you look unprofessional. It makes you look like you don't know what you're doing. You don't know who your audience is. You really want to format it right. That's like a very basic filter to pass. And then a very important tip I have for you guys is to avoid exaggerating, right? You don't want to like be fronting on interviews, because you have to prove yourself in the interviews. If I see that on a resume there's a paragraph and it's very complex, I'm going to start grilling you about it and asking you very intense questions. And if you're not able to answer these questions, that makes you look really bad. It's okay if you don't know that much, or if you only know what you're going into. If you're like just graduated college, or if you're a junior developer, that's fine. People are probably looking for the jobs you're applying to, are probably looking for that kind of experience. You don't have to lie and to make up a ton of stuff that you don't really know, or like say you know a language when you've only used it once, because if you get asked about that, you're not going to know what to say, and that'll only make you look worse, and then you're probably not going to get the job. What people are looking for, especially if you're like a younger person or less experienced, is someone that's eager to learn, someone that's really humble, and someone that just is really passionate about coding. You don't want someone that's lying and pretending to be super smart, super arrogant, saying they know all these different languages, right? You don't want to be dishonest. It really gets down to being honest on your resume, and that's what you want to do. If you can fake it and like kind of bullshit your way around, then go ahead and try. apply, but in my experience, that doesn't really work in practice. And then when you put stuff on your resume, right, you want to put your highlights first. Put what you're most proud of and what you can talk about the most first. It doesn't really matter going in chronological order. Like I see a lot of resumes, and I've done this in the past too, where I feel like in my head, I have to put it in chronological order. I have to put what I did most recently first, then second, then third, blah, blah, blah. That doesn't matter. Like, just throw that out the window. Put what you're most proud of first. It doesn't really matter how long ago you did it, as long as it's not like, 20 years ago, obviously. And you want to be able to talk at length about the first one or two things on your resume. So what I usually do, or what hiring managers or interviewers usually do, is they'll look at your resume, they'll see the first one or two items, and then they'll really ask you deep questions about that. That's what you want to do. Your first couple of items on your resume, you want to be able to talk to about a long time. You want to be able to talk to them about what you did, what you implemented, stuff like that, and really give them a deep and detailed explanation of what your role was. Along with that thought, you really want to put what your role was. Don't put what the entire team did, put what you specifically did. Interviewers want to know what you worked on, what your role was, what your contribution was, not what your entire team did together. So it's really important to put when you completed a project, what you specifically did on that project. And then don't use words like I used Java or I took part in a project. You really want to use stuff like I implemented, I led a team, and really purposeful, words that show that you completed the work. Always remember to just, like, it's super basic, but get feedback. Sometimes I was scared to show my friends my resume or embarrassed. It was too personal. But what you don't realize is, like, a simple feedback from a friend or a coworker or something like that can really go a long way when you're making a resume. Don't be scared to show people. Like a simple proofread, spell check, or just like a different perspective can go miles for your resume, because you often just like keep working on it, keep seeing the same thing. You kind of get stuck in this you get like tunnel vision of what your resume should be, but another perspective could really go a long way. And then a final tip, one that's pretty specific for software engineers, would be don't just list all of the languages you know. I know it's super popular to just put a list of, I know these languages, I know these 20 languages, I know Java, blah, 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 everything. What I would do, and what I do right now instead on my resume, is I list my positions, my work experience, and then I put in the languages I used with that role. And that way, the interviewer isn't going to just see Java on your resume and be like, oh, how well do you know this? Or what did you do with this? They're going to see your projects, then see that you use Java, and then you'll be able to have a more in-depth conversation about that. It really changes how the interview goes. And then some non-technical stuff, I like to put interests and hobbies. I think it makes it more personal. And I think it adds like a bit of a spark and a little bit of conversation to the interview, and it kind of just makes you more of a person rather than an engineer, right? Don't be shy. Don't be afraid to put some stuff you're passionate about that isn't coding related or isn't work related on your resume. I think it's actually a really good thing. And if there's an option to do a cover letter, then you can really take advantage of that and show why you're passionate, why you're a good fit for the company, and it could go a long way. It doesn't have to be really formal. Like, I would actually encourage it to be more informal than formal. So guys, I hope you have enjoyed this video. I hope you've taken these tips to heart. Let me know if there's anything I missed out or anything you disagree with. Hope you guys have enjoyed. See you later.